Welcome to the 10-Minute Book Club. Today, we're unpacking Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, a groundbreaking exploration of how our minds work. This best-selling book takes us into the fascinating world of human decision-making, revealing the two systems that drive how we think and how they often lead us astray. Whether you're curious about why we make mistakes, how biases affect our choices, or what it means to think rationally, this summary will give you the key takeaways. Let's dive in. Section 1. The Two Systems of Thinking. Kahneman introduces two modes of thinking that govern our decisions. 1. System 1. Fast, intuitive, and automatic. 1. This is your gut instinct, the voice in your head that reacts immediately to situations without much effort. 2. System 2. Slow, deliberate, and analytical. 2. This is the rational, logical side of your brain that kicks in when solving complex problems or making calculated decisions. An example of System 1 is recognizing a face in a crowd or answering 2 plus 2. It's effortless and quick. System 2, on the other hand, is what you use to solve 17 by 24 or decide whether to buy a car. It requires focus and energy. While System 1 is efficient, it's prone to errors and biases. System 2 can catch these errors, but it's lazy and often defers to System 1. Section 2. Cognitive Biases and Heuristics. Kahneman explores how System 1 relies on heuristics, mental shortcuts that simplify decisions but often lead to mistakes. Here are some key examples. 1. Anchoring bias, when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. 1. For example, if you're told a car costs $30,000, you might think a $25,000 car is a bargain, even if it's overpriced. 2. Availability heuristic, judging the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. 2. For instance, after hearing about a plane crash on the news, you might overestimate the dangers of flying, even though it's statistically safer than driving. 3. Substitution, when faced with a difficult question, we unconsciously substitute it with an easier one. 3. For example, instead of asking, "Is this political policy effective?" we might ask, "Do I like the person proposing it?" These biases show how System 1 can mislead us, even when we think we're making rational decisions. Section 3. Prospect Theory and Loss Aversion. One of Kahneman's most famous contributions is prospect theory, which explains how we perceive gains and losses. This explains why people are risk-averse in situations involving potential losses, even when taking a risk might lead to better outcomes. Kahneman illustrates this with a classic example. 1. If given $50 with the option to either 1. Keep $30 or 2. Risk it all with a 50% chance to keep the full $50, most people choose to keep the $30, even though the math favors the gamble. This bias impacts everything from personal finances to business decisions. Section 4. Overconfidence and the Illusion of Understanding. Kahneman highlights how overconfidence in our abilities can lead to poor decisions. 1. The planning fallacy. People tend to underestimate the time, cost, and risks involved in tasks. 1. Think about how often you've said, "This will only take an hour," and it ends up taking 3. 2. Hindsight bias. After something happens, we convince ourselves we knew it all along. 2. This illusion of understanding blinds us to the complexity and randomness of events. Kahneman warns that while confidence feels good, it's not always an indicator of accuracy. Trusting your instincts can be dangerous, especially in situations requiring careful analysis. Section 5. The power of framing. How a question or decision is framed can drastically influence our choices. Kahneman gives an example of two doctors presenting a surgery's success rate. 1. Doctor says, "This surgery has a 90% survival rate." Even though the two statements are mathematically identical, most people perceive the first option more positively. Framing is a powerful tool, used in everything from advertising to politics, to shape how we perceive reality. Section 6. The limitations of rationality. Kahneman challenges the idea that humans are inherently rational decision makers. Instead, he argues that our thinking is deeply influenced by context, emotions, and cognitive shortcuts. 1. The endowment effect. People value things they own more than things they don't, even when there's no logical reason to. 1. For example, you might overprice an item you're selling simply because it's yours. 2. The halo effect. Our overall impression of someone influences how we judge their specific traits. 2. If we like a person, we're more likely to think they're good at their job, even if there's no evidence to support that. These limitations show how difficult it is to make objective, rational choices. Section 7. Practical applications. Kahneman offers insights on how we can apply these lessons to improve decision-making. 1. Slow down when making important decisions. Engage System 2 by taking time to analyze the situation. 1. Avoid snap judgments. 2. Question assumptions, challenge the first impressions and gut feelings that System 1 generates. 3. Beware of biases. Recognize cognitive biases, like anchoring and loss aversion, and consciously adjust for them. 4. Use data and probabilities. Rely on evidence and statistical reasoning instead of intuition whenever possible. By being aware of how our minds work, we can make smarter decisions in our personal and professional lives. Section 8. The legacy of thinking. Fast and slow. Kahneman's work has influenced fields ranging from economics to psychology and behavioral science. It challenges the idea that humans are rational actors and reveals the hidden forces shaping our choices. The book's lessons are particularly relevant in today's fast-paced, information-overloaded world. By understanding how our minds work, we can better navigate the complexities of life and make decisions that align with our values and goals. Conclusion. Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman is a fascinating deep dive into the mechanics of the human mind. It's a book that reveals why we think the way we do, and how we can think better. Thanks for joining the 10-Minute Book Club. If this summary intrigued you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. What's a decision-making bias you've noticed in yourself? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.